Hi, friends. We're going to let everybody come on. I see you guys are on a little bit early. I just wanted to say hi. Hi, friends. It is 2:28. They've asked me to not only compete in this, but also moderate. So know that I'm here and just waiting for more people to join. Hi, Script Master. I can't hear you.
Oh, I never remember to unmute. I'm a hot mess. Even in that script competition, the moderator kept messaging me and being like, Julie, unmute yourself. I was like, ah.
That's awesome. You killed it. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
So fun. I can't wait to watch you do all of that.
Are you the one are you the panel leader for this meeting today?
I'm doing my listing presentation as well.
Wait.
Yeah.
I don't have very much background for what the expectation that I'm doing. So
I know none of us do. So
yeah.
they were like, hey, Lindsay, can you lead this as well? And I was like, sure, I can do that. Hey, buddy. Yeah, okay. Bye. Can you make sure you close the door? And can you take the dog with you? Because I'm going to lead this. All right.
Thanks, Barry.
Well, we're going to have a dog in here. At any rate, so I'm going to lead it and join in with my listing presentation. So we'll see. I feel like it's very hard when you don't have a seller. Because I was like, do we have a mock seller or something that we're
Right. Do you want, am I doing a listing presentation? No, we're just answering questions.
Nope, we're going to do a listing presentation. So
Okay.
best as we can. But here's what I think we're going to do is try to do it like teaching wise. And I know we've got Jeff Wilkinson on here too, but I think it's basically, hey, this is what I would do next. And this is how I would transition into this conversation. Cause I don't know how else we would do it without kind of talking through what we would normally do. So
Right. Okay.
that's my goal. So I'll probably go first so you can see it.
Hey, everybody. Just want to say you have a visitor from North Carolina today.
Yay, welcome.
A stranger.
You are always welcome.
Send up some barbecue.
Who is that?
Who's that something?
Martinez, Jeff Wilkinson.
Well, I can't see you. If I can't see you, I can't communicate with you.
All right. Well, how do I
Put
how do
that
I-
video on. Come on.
I know, you know what? I'm going to see if they can make me the host. Who do I got on here? So that I can help you guys on video and things. Yeah, Jeff, it's saying that you don't have video. Let me see. Can you make me host?
Yo, what's up, Julie?
What's up, Ducky? You don't say hi to everybody else?
I was supposed to help Julie out with this, and by that I mean she was supposed to run the show, and I'm here for moral support.
I love it. All right, guys, we're gonna get ready. We're about 2 minutes over, and I don't want to go too long. So here's the deal. As far as I know, we've got Julie, we've got Derek / Ducky, Jeff, and myself gonna do our listing presentation, and you guys are going to vote on who the winner is. Am I missing somebody who's doing the listing presentation with us?
Julie, did you know about that?
No, that's ridiculous.
This is what
Come
you
on
guys know. Now I'm telling you. So if you didn't prep, you're in trouble.
It's a good thing we do a couple listing presentations.
It really is.
I've never done one.
You're gonna be good. So that's what we're doing. Here's the funky thing is that doing it without like an actual seller feels kind of weird because most of us, I'm gonna gather, especially Julie and I know Julie because Julie and I go way back, but we're definitely consultative as opposed to just talking at people. So what I'm going to do is have us kind of, I think, teach our way through this. And that way you guys can then vote on which presentation you like the best, but we're probably going to coach / teach you through it. Does that make sense? And everybody's okay?
Lindsay, do you want me to role play? You want me to be the seller?
Well, we could do that, but I think they wanted us, so specifically they were like, it's not going to be a script off. They want
Alright.
you to do the actual presentation because I think that's what everybody wants.
Yes.
So then they had me moderate, which I can kind of, I think I can jump in and do some of that.
Yes, you can.
But yeah, if it
Okay.
gets funky, we'll talk about it. But this is all supposed to be non-script off for everybody. It's really supposed to be to show what we do, what we walk in with. That way, when you guys walk into a listing appointment, you feel confident and comfortable in knowing that there's 4 other people that have been doing this for a long time, doing something similar. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. So here's the deal. Since I'm moderating, I'm going to go ahead and go first because I think it probably makes the most sense for me to just show you guys what I do. If you saw my virtual listing presentation, I apologize. It's going to look a little bit similar. But the reason behind that is 1, we are virtual in a lot of aspects right now. And 2, we're virtual right now. So it was the easiest way for me to prep this was just to kind of go with what I would do virtually. And I'll explain to you what I would normally do. So we want to get all of this done within an hour. So I'm thinking if we each take 10 to 15 minutes to kind of do what we do. And I think we'll go a lot faster than that, really. And then we can open it up for questions. Does that make sense, guys? All right. All right. So here's the deal. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen because for my listing presentation, we come prepped with a lot of tools. I will normally have a listing folder with me with a bunch of information, and I'll have a lot of things saved on my computer so I can pop it up and kind of walk through that with them. I'm going to walk through each document that we would normally bring to our appointment and how we would kind of go through that just so you can see what we're doing. So first things first is I told you we are very consultative on our team. So we want to know what's important to them, what it's going to take to get a 10+ wow experience. And we're going to ask them that 3 different times. I'm going to mute some people. I'm not sure who all is. I muted you, Julie. So here's the deal. I'm going to have a dog bark now too. Here's the deal. We're going to ask 3 different times. What's one thing that needs to happen in this transaction or for this to be a 10+ wow experience? And then after that, we're going to transition into asking more questions about that. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to let my dog out. Give me 2 seconds.
Anybody else want to jump in?
You know what? I can jump in here while
You do your thing, Julie.
yeah. I feel like our starts out really similar to what Lindsay just said. And the first thing we do is just kind of, introduce and be like, hey, I'd love to take an opportunity to see your house, walk through your house. And then we can sit down and get to know each other a little bit and really get an understanding of what your goals and what you're looking to accomplish and how my team can best assist you. So I think it's just chiming in there while you were letting your dog out. I'm so sorry.
Took 2 seconds. You're good. You're good. So should I keep going? Sorry. Such a pain in the butt. Sorry, we're all working
Absolutely.
from home with kids and dogs and all the things these days, right? So at any rate, I'm going to walk through those things. We want to know what their expectations are. And then we're actually going to make it so that our entire presentation or consultation is based around what their needs are. So if they're talking about marketing, and that's really important, we're going to talk about our marketing plan and how that works. If we're going to, if it's just about price and they want to get it sold quickly, we're going to talk about why and what's important about that and really start to dive in and understand where are you going next, what matters most, and all those things. So this is how we always start. Then we push into an expectations conversation right up front because I believe it's really important for them to understand exactly what they're going to get with us. And we make them sign an agreement. You can see at the very bottom here, we have almost the exact same thing that I was just showing you so that it's all on one page. But we're going to talk through how honesty is the best policy. We need to work together, how accessibility is very important to us. The fact that we're going to be available via the phone and email, 8:30 to 7 on Monday and Friday. And then Saturday, we'd like to go until 5 p.m. Although these days with everything that's happening with COVID and low inventory, we're working all the time, right? Communication, seek first to understand, make no assumptions, and refuse to take things personally. The phone is the best way to communicate. And then we ask if we can't do the phone, what's the second best, right? Email or text. Most people are going to say text these days. Being kind and respecting each other, knowing that this is a business and we have to act professionally the entire time. Accountability, we both have, accountability in this, and we need to make sure that we understand that and that we respect each other in that. Then we talk about respect again. Realistic. So I think for me, it's very real. You know, you have to be realistic, and buyers desire the best deal. So they want to feel like they've won. And so we're going to talk about the win-win there. And then we're going to talk about the fact that we need to be trusted. And so we're going to launch into that before we get into anything else, because we really do want to be on the same page with people. The next piece for us is we're going to open up this document, which is our true listing presentation. We're going to talk a little bit about who we are, but the most important things in here are service guarantees, you guys. And so we have two. And it really, we believe, holds our feet to the fire on giving that 10+ wow experience. The first one is a communication guarantee. So our team promises to communicate twice a week, no matter what. Now, does this matter when we're all like going under contract within a day or less than a day? Not as much, right? But that's not how our market always is. And there are a lot of times when people are sitting on the market and we're having to talk to them for a few years. So we still talk about, or a few months rather. I don't want to talk to them for years, although we've all done that too, unfortunately. But the goal here is to have our admin team talk every Monday, and then our agent team is going to talk every single Thursday. And that really holds us to communicating in a really high level. We always know what's going on. And guess what? It makes us proactive instead of being reactive, which is what most people are, especially busy agents. And we will normally talk about single agents versus teams in this point. And we'll talk about the fact that we are proactive in our communication because we have a team and we're all operating together. When you've got somebody who's just a solo agent, they have less of a team, they have less teammates. They don't have as many people to reach out and to help people. And so we'll talk about that a little bit there. We also have the one-day listing agreement. We tell people if they really truly feel like we're not bringing value and we're not doing a good job, they can fire us. 24 hours notice. We'll take it off. We'll part ways. We'll say sorry. We have never had anybody exercise this because it holds our feet to the fire. We actually have to prove ourselves every day and really deliver on that 10+ wow experience. That's very important to us. And so that's our one-day listing agreement. Now, again, if they want to talk about marketing stuff, we're going to go into what our social media marketing plans are, how we bring leads in. We're going to talk about target marketing, which is social media, Google AdWords, and we put a good amount of money behind there, and we disclose the amount of money that we put behind it. Here, we're actually going to talk about how most agents are going to say, I'm going to market it. I'm going to do all these things. It's going to be great. And then they don't give you the actual dollar amounts, or they don't tell you exactly what they're going to do. So we're going to tell you exactly what we're going to do. And we're going to take that one step further. We also have a 150-point marketing plan that if they'd really like to go through everything that we're going to do for them, they can, right? And so we'll give them the 150-point marketing plan. We'll explain how we do everything. And we'll explain how much money that we're actually going to put behind it. Every single property that we list, we are going to create a website. We can see, I don't know if you can see this, but we can actually see, how many women versus men are looking at the property. We can see how many, leads have come in, how many actual, property views. The reason why this matters is because we actually need to see at least 1% of the views on the property in a marketing sense going into the home for showings. That's the rule of thumb for us. And if we can see that, then we're doing really well. If we don't have 1% going in for showings, then guess what? We actually aren't marketing it well. We're probably overpriced, and we need to have that conversation. So we have that right up front so that we know what's going on. Obviously, we're going to do some really great marketing with photography and videography and aerial views and Matterports and all of the fun things. And so we explain that. But one of the most important things is that we will do a staging consultation for free. We pay for a staging consultation. We want people to go out, and we always reference this home, which was a Philly home. It was a great house. 3 weeks, 32 showings, no offers. We literally staged it, which we paid for because the seller didn't believe in it. Was one of my friends and very stubborn. I was like, you know what? Pay me afterwards if we sell it. How about that? So we staged it. We got 6 showings. It was under contract the next day after we staged it and had the new photos. So staging works. It is very important. We pay for that consultation. Sometimes if we really have to, we'll pay for more if we know that we're going to get that money back later. And then we talk about where we succeed, where others have failed. And our average, days on market and, different homes that we've sold. We have an actual success portfolio that shows all the homes that we've sold, how we've sold them, was it a short sale and it sold in 5 days? Did we sell it for 23? 1,000 over asking price, whatever it is, it's our wins. That's a huge document that we bring and we provide if they really want to see it and know, what we do at a high level. We believe that the success portfolio is very important because it helps people see that we've been doing this for years. We know what we're doing and we have a track record, right? And we also offer any references that we might have. So if somebody actually wants to call our references and see, how we've done, what we've done, they can, and we welcome that because again, we have only 10 plus wow experiences. So we're not worried about them talking to a lot of other people. And you can see here, we've got, we finish it up with frequently asked questions, which we leave this document, the success portfolio and other things, the 150-point marketing plan with them, unless we email it ahead of time. So then we would bring about that service easy exit, listing. We want to bring that in front of them again, because we really want them to know that we're going to do the best job possible and that they can get out within 24 hours if they feel like they need to. And then we're going to have a really big conversation around comps, right? And what that looks like. And so our norm for me is, if I was going to do my house here, my norm is that I would take the public records or an old MLS and I would go in and I would highlight the important things that we need to look at when we're looking at comps, right? So I'm going to highlight square footage. I'm going to highlight the bedrooms, the baths, and whether or not we have a finished basement and a garage, right? And so I would highlight those things and then I would come prepped with 3 actives if I can. Right now we're having a hard time finding 3 actives, so maybe 3 pendings, and then 3 closed properties. And in this, so right now I have it all ready to go as if I was sitting in front of them, but normally I would have a sticky note here hiding the price. Now I have a box. This is made up for virtual. And then I would highlight in front of them all of the different things on these homes, right? So I'd highlight the bedrooms and the baths and the square footage, and I would stick this in front of them. And I would ask these sellers to choose which one best represents their home. So which one's the most similar? Now, here's the fun thing is that most of the time they don't know if that's Betty and, Joe's house down the road or whatever. They just are looking at it and they're really focused on the bedrooms, baths, and their square footage, because we're just talking to them about, hey, we're going to do a fun exercise. It's really going to help you figure out what the price of your home is. And so once we do that and they choose the one that is most like their home for actives, pendings, and solds, then we take the stickies off and we have conversations, right? So for the pending ones, we're going to have a conversation around, hey, this one under contract within 3 days. How awesome is that? Here's why. They priced it at this. And we don't know what it's going to sell for, but we know if it went under in 3 days and it's very similar to yours, then we need to be probably around this price, right? We can have all those conversations. It helps us have an easy conversation. They've just chosen their own comps. So they literally, for the most part, we've only had a few people that are really stubborn and annoying. But for the most part, they choose their comps and then it makes the pricing conversation very easy because it's very consultative. All right, so we do that. That's what this is all about, the normal.
Running out of time here, Linz.
Great. And then what we do is we transition into our end. So we essentially are going to transition to close. We're going to tell them that, do they have any questions about what we've discussed? We want to see if there's any other agents that have, promised them something that we ourselves haven't promised. We are going to probably have a commission conversation at this point. And then we're going to transition into the promise card, which we have this card that comes with us all the time. It's our promise. We talk about our mission, we talk about our vision, and then we talk about the fact that we're going to promise some things, they're going to promise some things. And this is how we end the entire conversation. We're going to provide you with a wow 10 plus experience that makes you want to tell everyone how great we are. If we aren't wowing you, you can fire us within 24 hours. See our easy exit agreement. To be communicative all time. See our communication guarantee, to be honest with you at all times. And then you promise to be honest with us at all times. If we're not wowing you, we need to know so that we can course correct. You're going to refer people to us because we're doing such a great job. You can't help yourself. And then you're going to provide us with a review and the completion of our survey at the end of the transaction. This way we know how to be the best. That's it. All right. So that's what we do. Julie, since you started, do you want to go next?
Sure.
Awesome.
So our listing presentation actually is pretty similar to yours, Lindsay. I think the packet that we have couple things that I do differently than yours. Number one, the packet that I present and kind of use as my tool as we go through a listing presentation, I actually drop that off. I try to drop it off almost exactly, as close to exactly 3 days in advance of my listing appointment in advance. I drop it off in a folder, waterproof envelope with a letter, blah, blah, blah. And I try to do that in advance. And then I always bring another copy with me just in case they've misplaced it or whatever, because I do like to reference it often in our appointment. So I will do the same as you did. I will share my screen so that everyone can see it. Go back to the beginning. So here's our listing presentation. First couple things we do, obviously I walk around with them. I get to know their house a little bit, then we sit down. I have basically 3 distinct parts of my listing presentation, which is basically getting to know me, my team, any questions or concerns, or what's important to them about the relationship and how my team can best fit what they're looking for. Second, we talk about just generally what does it take to sell a house, condition, marketing, price, those things. When it comes to that, my favorite thing that I show them is this page. Can you guys see this okay? So these 4 houses here were 4 houses that were originally on the market with another agent. Property was not able to get sold. They eventually let that agent go and hired us. These are the same 4 houses as we presented them to the market. And I love to be able to share the stats here. This first home, had been on the market for quite some time, sold in a relatively reasonable amount of time. I can't remember the price on this one, but this second one is in Downingtown. It was on the market for 7.5 months. They were unable to find a buyer. Agent was MIA, who knew what was going on with marketing, and it just continued to drag on and drag on and drag on. And then we sold it for exactly what it had been listed at for 7.5 months. So I love to be able to give those before and after examples. And to your point earlier, Lindsay, I think that these are the type of things that really, demonstrate to your client that who you hire does matter. I mean, I love that that's the catchphrase right on the front of your listing presentation packet. It really does make a tremendous difference. And then so during this part of understanding, what it takes to sell a house, we're looking at items like this. We're looking at the in the market, on the market, out of the market. We're talking about, I'm a big stats person. So I'm sharing with them how many average showings, listings in their school districts, in their price point, how many showings are each listing averaging prior to receiving an offer, so that the appropriate expectation is set. Oh my gosh, we now have 13 showings, and Julie told us that in Downingtown, an average of 7 to 8 showings is materializing an offer. We're now at 13 and we don't have one yet.
Did we lose her? So it just
She was on a roll too.
She really was. Stats on showings. Got her. All right. We're doing a good job, guys.
She was a math major though, so she just got real excited about the showings and the stats.
We're kicking out dogs. We're losing things. You guys are just gonna have to stay with us and bear with us. So here's the deal. We're gonna let me just see if she popped off and muted herself by accident before I transition. I don't want to start a new one because it's fun to hear her go to completion. So here's the deal. Give her one more second, you guys. Bear with us. Let me just text her. And then Ducky, you're probably going to be up next, and then we'll have her finish at the end. And then Jeff, we're going to end with you. There she is. See,
I have no idea. I truly have no idea what just happened there.
All I had to do was just talk, and then you're good. So you were showings, and it was fabulous. So keep going.
Okay. So yeah, so it sets the expectation as to how many showings, they should expect, so that they are understanding how there's a direct line correlation between activity on their property and likelihood of getting an offer. And I think that everything and all the conversations and how much you just talk through this process, set the expectation, what is the marketing going to look like? What should the showings look like? How does showing time work? just what it's going to feel like those first few days that they're on the market. I think that the more clear and specific the expectations are for your seller, the easier it is. You've now set the stage for every conversation that you may or may not need to have in the future. Like, this is your opportunity to really make sure they know what's coming. And then the third kind of phase of my listing presentation is to talk about the specific data and comps on the market and where I think that they're, pricing of their home. And I think how I usually like to present this piece of it is that I like to talk about pricing a lot more as how do we utilize pricing as a strategy rather than this is what the comp says, so this is where we should price your home. I like to talk about how, the data that we know from Zillow of how consumers utilize the consumer sites, how are buyers shopping? We know that most buyers are using the drop-down menu. We know that prices are bracketed. We know that the vast majority of buyers are using the ceiling of their search to be the same numbers over and over and over again. I like to talk a lot more about strategy and how to employ it. Is time your critical pressure point for you, or is price your critical pressure point? You know what I mean? And helping them understand that those things are, connected. So that's it.
Love it. So you have the presentation and you come prepped with the comps, and then you normally come prepped. What other documents and things are you coming with, Julie? Just so they know.
Sure. So I am coming with their public record. I am coming with comps. I also try to do 3-3-3, 3 active, 3 pending, 3 closed. Cannot always do that these days. And I always try to focus far more on the closed properties. I think it's important to be able to show them the difference between active and closed. And the way I always present that is like, look, these guys are still competing. These guys have won the competition already, so that they can see, even though these are my active competition, I might not want to follow in their footsteps. I'm bringing all of the paperwork that I'm going to need. I'm bringing consumer notice, an estimate of net proceeds, domestic relations, a listing contract. Like, I'm bringing every lead-based paint disclosure if it's an older home, like every piece of documentation. I either have it teed up on my iPad for them to sign, or I'm bringing it in person. I try to only bring them in person if I know it's an older client that may not be as comfortable with the technology. But I'm bringing my listing presentation booklet, and I'm bringing all the paperwork so that if we're on board and the client and I are really comfortable and confident and totally in alignment with what the next steps look like, I'm leaving there and I can get to work as soon as I walk out that door.
Perfect. All right. And we'll open up for questions for everybody.
Get to work.
Yeah. And you get to work now. So Ducky, show us your presentation. And then Jeff, we're going to put you on last here, saving the last for best.
All right, cool. If you're in front of a computer, right click my screen and hit pin video real quick. It'll make me big on your computer. Okay. For those of you teaching or doing stuff virtually, make sure you have people do that. It's a lot easier for them to see you, as well as see all the information you're about to share. So go ahead and do that now. Or click the 3 dots next to my face. All right, cool. Yep, so I'm Ducky Ryan. I'm with the Chris and Caleb team out of the Exton office here. So when I sit down with somebody, I tell them this before I get there. And then I think Julie is still on. Can you mute Julie for me? Thank you. I tell them this before I get there. I tell them it when I get there. So listen, when we sit down, we're gonna go through 3 things. We'll go through the process of selling. We'll go through your house. And then we'll talk about the money in the market. The money being what could your house sell for, and the market being what's going on around you. So then I walk in the front door. I still like to do things in person if I can, especially listing appointments. Buyer appointments I feel like are a little easier to do virtually. I think as a team, we're almost doing exclusively virtual buyer appointments right now because you can do it anywhere and it's a lot easier. But listing stuff to see all of the house, I've done a bunch virtual. It's kind of tough, especially if there's clutter and things. You don't know what it smells like either. So, sit down, we walk in the front door, we have some chit-chatting, sit down at the table. I said, great guys, So here we go. We're going to go through 3 things today. We'll talk about the process of selling. We'll go through the house, and we'll talk about the money in the market. Before we get into that, a couple clarifying questions. So what I'll do at that point is we have a listing packet, or excuse me, listing intake form. I have this with me. It's just a simple Word document that we kind of outlined. Have some stats, do some research up front. But it has a couple of questions I can ask people. I do want to find out, if they have a pet, maybe there's a cat running around I don't know about. Some people are allergic to cats. It's helpful that you notate that. I'm really curious about what they owe on a home. You want to make sure they're not upside down. Not a lot of people are right now with how much Chester County real estate has appreciated, but you want to get an idea so you can create a closing cost estimate for them. Okay, so after we chit chat, usually there's some joking. We have a good time. We're talking. Then I say, great, can you show me around your house? And I carry this with me on a clipboard or a professional pad, and we walk through the house and I just take notes on what I see. And we go to each house or each room where all this stuff is. And this is the actual document that I then upload and send to our listing coordination team so that they're able to upload that and have all the proper write-up for their pictures, the way the description looks. It's just really helpful. If you're going into a bunch of different appointments, it's good for you to have something to refer back to, a standardized form to take notes on. So we'll go through that. Usually takes about 10, 15 minutes. Then we get back to the table. And I hurry them through the house. If they ask me questions, I'm writing, and I might crack a joke or something, but as I'm writing, I'm like, hold on 1 sec, let me get this down. And then I'll engage with their question. And then while they're talking to me, I'm still walking, I'm on the move through this house. We're not dilly-dallying. Then we get back to the table. I said, great. Well, that was the fun part. Here's the boring part. Let's talk about the process of selling. And then before we do that, we jump into, this is our listing guide. We have a hard copy form of this. We have digital copies as well. Before I ever open it, I tell them about who we are. One of the things that we realized is people work with who they like, trust, respect, and admire. And how could they like, trust, respect, and admire someone that they don't know? So we spend a lot of time getting to know people before we meet with them. I do a lot of check-ins. I'll set the appointment a week out. I'll check in a day before. I'll check in the day of. When we walk in there, we've already spoken 3 or 4 times before I ever get to their door. And then we sit and we build rapport first. And then before I show them anything about the process of selling, I go through our core values. First one's fun, responsibility, integrity, growth, and gratitude. And I give them my definitions of those. And I tell them which one's my favorite and how real estate's changed my entire life and how I'm just incredibly grateful to be in front of them. I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to be working with them. And I sometimes I get kind of choked up because when I got into real estate, I was living in somebody's basement. I was eating spinach and eggs, and I was working for an arborist during the day. And I was doing real estate nights and weekends, and I was driving a 92 Toyota Corolla that caught on fire twice. And, it didn't start between showings, and I would just be sitting there trying to get my car to start while people are waiting to go to the next house behind me. And so I just tell them look, this is who we are. And we're really, really excited for this. And I'm excited to show you what we can do to help you, and how what I'm about to show you is, it is what it is. So then we go through the process of selling. Okay. I brush through a lot of this stuff. I talk about core values there, testimonials. I don't really talk about any of this. I explain how we are specialists on our team. And then we get to the process here. Let me rotate this puppy. Again, we have a paper version. I should get an updated one of these. So I say, look, I'm in green. I'm overseeing the whole thing start to finish. And this is sideways. So I would open this packet up like a book, and it would be top bottom. Say I'm in green. I'm overseeing the whole thing start to finish. Right now we're having a consultation. The majority of people spend the most time in box number 2, which is preparing to put your home on the market. Now, a couple of things we do is we have a professional stager that's going to come to your home and do what we call a walk and talk staging consultation. This is where they walk through the house and you follow them around with a pad and paper, and they give you lots of suggestions on what you could do. These are suggestions. These aren't requirements. These are recommendations from a third-party person to give you a perspective on what a potential home buyer might do or might see when they walk into your house. The next thing we do is we pay for professional photography. The reason why we do that is because over 90% of people first find the home they're going to purchase on the internet. So in order to sell the home, we actually need to sell it twice. First on the online, next in person. And if we do our job well, we're going to get people in your house and then the home will sell itself. Okay. When we go on the market, we like to list on Thursdays. The reason why we like to list on Thursdays is because that's when the vast majority of people start scheduling their weekends, especially during the winter time in the season we're in now. If people see a home pop up, it gets dark around 5 p.m. So you don't want to purchase a home and spend the most money you've ever spent in your entire life and not be able to see the exterior. So our goal is to create a bottleneck of activity so that the first weekend you go on the market, you have tons of people trying to get in your home. You have no room in your driveway. People are having to wait outside for the other showings to get out, and everything's gonna be great. All right. And so we're gonna get you into a multiple offer situation. That's the goal. And this is how we're gonna do that. Put a sign in the yard, lockbox on the door. We give you a combination to the lockbox. You put the key in there. We're gonna get you in touch with a third-party vendor called Showing Time. Showing Time is an app. It goes on your phone. When a licensed real estate agent working with a qualified home buyer wants to see your house, they're going to send you a notification through that app. That app is also really helpful for feedback. And so you can communicate back and forth. So Yellow is my client care specialist, Ashley and Deanna. We're all on this together. So we're all going to be on the same page. And so that's like an example of the speed and the cadence that I'm going through this. And I'll walk through each one of these top and bottom. I'll be sure to emphasize deed package. Okay. I'm not going to go through everything with you, but that's kind of like how I go through that. And then I say, great. Well, now that we're through the house, sorry, the light turned off down here. Now we're through the house, we're through the process. The last thing to talk about is the money in the market. Okay. And so here's a couple of comps, and I have my computer with me. And what I'll do is I create a cart in the MLS for the comps. And I typically only look at pending and sold. Active under contract's fine too, but I'll only look at those. I don't usually look at actives unless there's something worth noting. I might bring that up, but I won't use it with my stats and my info. I walk them through that. Let me just pull up the MLS for you guys. There's something really helpful on the MLS that I never knew about, but it's a lot easier in listing consultations when you're presenting some information. Okay, so this is just the property. I just clicked Downingtown and here's what's going on. So what I'll do is you click this one right here where it says open all. And so while you're scrolling through pictures with people, it's easier if you just have these side by sides and go up and down like this. I go about this speed as well. I might slow down a little bit when you get to the kitchen. But rather than clicking one picture at a time, it takes forever and it drives me crazy. So if you can go a little bit quicker, because these people aren't going to remember this. And I say, listen, I know I'm showing a lot of information to you. I'm going to send a follow-up email that'll have absolutely everything we're talking about today. So you don't have to remember a thing. And so that's what I'll do. And I review the comps with them. And then I say, so after looking at the comps, where do you think the value of your home falls? And by this time, I've seen the house. I don't talk about pricing first. I've seen the house, so I know how their home compares to these comps. And then they've also seen the comps, and so then they can compare themselves to the comps that you just showed. And then, thank you. And then before they answer, what I'll do is I'll pull up something called an absorption ratio. I've taught a couple classes about this. Has anybody ever seen me do an absorption ratio? Okay, so let me just pull this up. So this is something you can do on Excel. Basically, what you're trying to identify is how fast does the market move? How quickly does the average or does the current inventory absorption ratio, get bought and move into the market? So blue is what's active on the market today. Red is the average number of homes that have sold per month over the past 6 months. And yellow is the average length of time it should take for the current inventory, blue, to absorption ratio or sell into the market, okay? And then I explain this to them. Oftentimes the absorption ratio correlates with the comps, and then they can self-identify what the price should be. Most of the time by this point, they're on the ball and you know, I don't really need to tell them anything. They pick the price and I'm like, yeah, I would actually agree with that. when you're talking pricing, there's 3 ways to talk pricing that I think makes a lot of sense to sellers. You can say busy market, it's going like this. Option number 1 is you price it high. The potential downside is if the market doesn't reach it, then you have to chase the market. Potential upside is you might sell for more than you're expecting, okay? Option number 2 is we just looked at the comps and the average sales prices and all that stuff, and we've agreed on a price, is we price it right where the market says it should be. Potential upside, the market value might go up because of multiple offers. Potential downside, if it changes, you have a small way to change, okay? Option number 3, and I don't usually recommend this depending on the situation, is market and you price it under market value. The idea there is it's going to sell quickly, but you might not be able to get the most money. Last thing I do in an appointment after I've gone through all this, and most of the appointments are about 45 minutes long, sometimes an hour, is I'll show them what we call a commitment to sell. Date, names, address, date, and price. And we put down commission. We had a lawyer write this for us. There's a group in Texas, Lindsay, help me. There's a group in Texas who uses this thing.
Loken.
The Loken group. It's really important to know that this is not a contract, okay? This is a commitment from the seller that they're going to be willing to work with you. And we don't pay for any photography, any staging, any of that stuff until those people sign that commitment to sell. Now, it's important to know that it's not a contract, okay? They're not locked in with you. However, most people, when they do sign something, they feel pretty committed. So that's about it.
All right, awesome job. All right, guys, we're gonna have Jeff go, then we're gonna open it up for you guys to say who you think the winner is. And while we're doing that, and you're actually putting everything in there, we'll do question and answer because I know you guys are gonna have them for us. Now, if you did go ahead and you pinned Ducky, here's how you would go back from pinning. You would click on one, you can go to the top right and you can click on view and you can go to gallery or speaker view, whichever you want to do there. If you go back to gallery, you can then find him, get the 3 dots and unpin him. Hopefully that makes sense. Or you can just always go to the speaker view and that'll put the speaker in there. Jeff, are you able to bring your picture up here? Or are we going to hear you?
I have the stop video. I thought I was on video.
Oh.
Am I up or?
You're not. We've got a camera with a line through it. Let me
Is there any way I can?
I don't know. It's saying that your camera is not working, but you know what? I think it's okay if we go through and you just talk us through it. If you might be able to share your screen. I'm not sure.
Well, first of all, I hope that all 3 presentations are terrific, and I hope that all 3 will send their materials out because I would like to steal all of them. And I was actually more prepared just to actually do a reading more than anything else. But what I do is, first of all, I'm in the seniors market. I have a senior real estate specialist designation. And the work that I do is trying to list houses in the 55+ communities in Delaware County that are now 20, 25 years old. And the original owners are now in their 80s and 90s and need special attention and a little bit of care, or a lot of care, to to take care of and properly work with. And fortunately for me, being a Luddite Quaker that I am, I don't rely on the on the technology as much, and I enjoy this part of the market. So first of all, I was really happy to hear that everybody does a walkthrough with the owners. I always do. And I always pick out something that I can talk about, compliment, forward, photograph, anything in their house. And sometimes we're in houses that we want to be out of as soon as we walk into, but there's always something that the owner is very proud of. and always look for something that that I can bond with. And my favorite story about that is 8 years ago, I was in a home where they had a ledger page framed on their wall. I walked over to it, and it was actually their copy of the page of their grandparents coming through Ellis Island in 1921. And we talked about, all of a sudden we just talked about their family, their history, the history of the grandparents. We probably stood there for 20 minutes. We walked back to the kitchen table and we got all the paperwork done. So there's always something there that is important to them. I am always in a coat and tie. I always try and be in a suit in this market. Lets them know that I'm there to do business. They're looking for that confidence. I find out how savvy they are on the internet, and my joke is if they have been on internet sites and they see people, young people in t-shirts, doing business in t-shirts, I suggest that's great. If they didn't, if those t-shirts didn't look like they were slept in the night before. So try and get them to appreciate that. And then I always start, I give them, I have two that I use all the time. I have several that were original cards, thank you cards that I've received over the years. The two that I usually use are, Dear Jeff, thank you for your help and service in selling my home in Fox Hill Farm. I had many questions and worries, and you answered them all. I felt like I never had to worry about anything. The move went well, and I am settled in my new home. Thanks again. And the other one was, you're very professional and courteous selling my home. Very much appreciate that you answer your phone every time I had a question, and I hope you didn't, and I hope I didn't have too many questions. Everything went smoothly and the move went well. So I give the original cards to the owners, to the sellers, and I open it up right there and ask them what their concerns are, and generally, obviously it's a smooth transaction. What are we going to do for them? How am I going to get the best price, and time frames and all the different things. So that is my opportunity to confirm to them that I'm there to do business, and people that they know. And I mentioned the names of those who wrote them. I'm always dropping names of people I used, including the Ross and Betty Zalesnik, who got me into real estate 14 years ago with when I sold their house, and they're still referring me to the people that they know in Fox Hill Farm. So I have the paperwork, I have the contract. I let them know that it's the paperwork to get started. And when I answer their concerns at that time, I ask them if they're ready to start the paperwork and get started. So that's my first ask, and try and get right to the paperwork. If there are still more questions or hesitancy, I ask generally I will let them know or talk to them about our competition. Instead of 80-20, it's more like 90-10 in real estate. 90% of the agents sell the average 3 homes a year. You don't want those. And as far as a mega agent, we see that. I say that then that well, this is the paperwork and this is the contract, and it has all of the details and dates and responsibilities and obligations. It's my personal promise to you that I'm going to sell your house. And I'm going to answer the phone every time that you call if I can, but I will return the call right away. Mega agents, you're going to be shuttled to the staff people. And that's not to say that they are not terrific agents, but wouldn't you, seller, want to work with somebody who's going to answer the phone and personally promise to take your transaction from start to finish and represent you at settlement? And so that goes a long way. And I'm trying to close right away. Again, in the elderly market and senior market, you don't, they're relying on you to have everything and all of the services that you are that they are expecting any agent to have. And I also tailor my presentation and any questions with, again, dropping any names, advertisements that I do in the community newsletters, successes, and different things that I've done in the neighborhood and people that I know. As far as getting to my own successes, I will also pick out particular successful sales that I've had that have been the highest sales in the community. Last year, I just sold one. First time it was over $400,000. I sold one a few years ago where the appraisal was $20,000 less than the sales price, and we still, the seller did not renegotiate, and the buyer bought the house for $20,000 more than the asking price. And have a few other stories like that in the 55+ communities. And generally, a lot of times, you have to get them talking about the other properties that they know about, because a lot of times they've already known what other homes have sold for. Their community newsletter publishes all of the sales. So, and right now in this market, it's brutal because there's really no inventory in some of these communities. Some of these communities haven't had a listing in 4 or 5 months at all. So, so just some ideas there. Those are SRES suggestions.
One more,
and,
Jeff.
that's basically it.
Awesome job. All right. So you guys, you had very different presenters, very different things. I feel like there was a lot of takeaways in all of that. Here's what we're going to do. So we missed, some people have signed off, which is a bummer because I didn't get to pick their winner. But what I want you to do is place the name of who you believe the winner is in the chat. Bridget will go ahead and count them for me so that we can announce it. And during that, though, I want you to be able to ask questions. So I know we already had, you know, people want to see the intake form that Ducky actually brought up. What other questions do you have for Julie, Jeff, myself, and Ducky? I'm gonna make, yeah. Drew.
I struggle to get my seller to name the price. I feel like I'm setting the table very well, but they always want me to say the number.
Some people do that. How many comps do you look through?
Handful,
Like how many?
4 or 5.
Yeah, I think once you get above 5, it gets confusing. If you have 3 really great ones, just stick to 3. I usually don't go above 4 if I can help it.
That's why I use the consultative method with the sticky notes, because I feel like it just it like literally is right there in front of them and they can't deny it. And they end up being like, so is that our list number? And then we have that conversation. So it's really helped us, especially newbies in the business. It's been really good for us. Julie, you were talking, I feel like you have to unmute.
I'm the worst with this Zoom. Yeah, and I would also say, I would just encourage you to ask the question very directly. You know, so based on these properties that we've just looked at together, how do you think your house fits in here? You know, I mean, really just ask the question directly.
Love it. All right.
I might ask twice, by the way, if you ask, so where do you think the price of your home falls? And they say, well, where do you think? I'm like, I asked you first, you know. Maybe you won't say that, but like, you know, no, seriously, based on what we're looking at, what do you think? Sometimes people, I find that people above the age of 50, in my experience, they tend to want the salesperson to be a little bit more specific. And a lot of folks that are a little bit closer to my age are pretty cool with something in a general range. They're like, oh yeah, that sounds good. I was kind of thinking that range. So.
Yeah. The other thing, because I agree with Ducky. I don't like to give an exact price. I really like to help the client self-discover. If they do press me to give an answer, much like Ducky had 3 pricing, I also use the 3 pricing strategy. The way that I phrase it is, look, we can price high. That's what I like to refer to as the test the market. We could price right where the market kind of is indicating based on the comparables. That price is what I like to call the sweet spot. Or we can price below the market, which I like to call strategically aggressive, which would encourage the market to bring us multiple offers. So I kind of give them the range of those 3 numbers. So you are giving them specific answers without really being specific as to what they should list at.
You know what's awesome? KW, the old KW listing presentation has a graph in there that's really good for that. I can dig that up and send it to you guys too.
I think that's also, that graph is probably in the coaching packet. Drew, I want to go back to your question. And you're talking about the question you ask the sellers when you're on the phone doing your consulting.
This is face-to-face.
Face-to-face. Okay. Yeah.
What other questions do you guys have? And if you haven't stuck your vote in there, you're not going to hurt any of our feelings. We all get listings and lose listings just like everybody else. So
Lost one to Lindsay this morning.
I love them all. And I have to say, each and every one has something special in them.
It's
Yeah.
a great way to be on the fence, Martina.
Yeah.
Choose
I
one.
want to thank Jeff for his very, very hands-on approach with working with older people, because they do need so much time. And you must spend, months and months getting to know a lot of people, Jeff. So I applaud you for that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. What other questions do you guys have from those? Any other questions?
So I noticed that all of your listing presentations are no more than like 15 pages. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
We have the 2 other documents, and they're big documents. So we do come prepped with that, and then a seller's communication journal that I didn't go through. So if we need to go through that stuff, we do, but normally our second person will come out, and our listing manager will kind of go through what the next steps are and all those things. So, you can have a 2-step process too, if you need it.
Right.
What other questions? There are lots of people I know too. All of us kind of showed our PDFs, but I think, and Ducky, correct me if I'm wrong, and Julie, some of us have presentations that are on the computer as well. And so sometimes we go through it more like a PowerPoint as well.
I'm just not super tech savvy. I'm like the worst millennial you'll ever meet. I'm telling you. I have like pen and paper, and I show them like 3 pages,
Yeah.
To any of you, but to Ducky and Julie specifically, this is Gus, by the way.
What's up, stud?
Hey, stud. Since you all talked about your pricing, if you price here or you you price at the sweet spot or you price at the high spot. Let's say you get the situation where you've priced at the high spot. How do you document that in a way where you can come back later and say, all right, now it's time to make the correction? Because in my experience, even if you've had that conversation at the listing presentation and you've gotten them to sign, they seem to have selective memory that you had the conversation, that they were pricing high. So how do you document that, or how do you handle that?
So if they are really on board with that conversation in the listing appointment, I'll even suggest, hey, you know what? See this area back here in the contract, additional terms. Why don't we go ahead and memorialize what our game plan is at the 2-week mark? So, we know we're testing the market. In the event that, with all the phone calls that I'm making, all the marketing and advertising that we're doing, all the websites that your property is out to, if we cannot secure a buyer at this price tag, or we are not getting an adequate volume of showings, as we've discussed based on this, can we agree that either at the 1 or 2 week mark, we will automatically do a price reduction? If they're totally on board with that conversation and we're really on the same page at the listing appointment, I will often attempt to get that written right into the contract.
Yeah, I use 10 showings in 2 weeks. So I'll say, hey, if we have 10 showings and no offers, or if we go 2 weeks with no showings, that's a sign that we need to make an adjustment. And the truth is, if we're getting no one into your home, it could be on the marketing. We have a really, really good track record of marketing. And I actually keep some papers like that show what we do for marketing in my folder. So if we're getting no showings, we might need to adjust the marketing, but it could also be the pricing. And if we're getting lots of showings, but nobody's making an offer, then it has to do with your house. And we need to make an adjustment at that point. And so that's typically, Gus, how I would phrase that.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, Bridget, we're at the 3:30 mark. So I think you got some that went straight to you too.
Lindsay, who do you use for your websites?
Who do I use for website?
Yeah, for the property websites.
So I use Listings Leads. I teach that a lot to people. I love it. I think it's one of the best and very affordable systems out there. And then we have Brivity as well that we can do the same thing on.
Okay, because the insights are very, very tempting.
The insights are really fabulous, and it's really fun to be able to show, especially on a listing presentation, to be able to show that instead of saying, 10 showings and 10 days or whatever. You can say, if you say that I would need to see 1% coming through, we're going to be looking at those. We send over the reports every single week, so when we have those conversations weekly, we can have those conversations and look at the reports together, which is nice. It's wonderful.
Do you have a dollar amount on that? The
Yeah,
listing leads?
it's right there on their website, but I think if it's under 10 listings, I think it's $40 a month. It's like nothing. It's amazing. And it helps you market it really well. It's great.
Okay.
All right, Bridget,
Thank
bring
you.
it.
Did I just announce the winner?
You do.
It's Ducky.
Yay, Ducky.
Woohoo!
Good job. Good job. All right. Well, you guys should have our email addresses. So if you need anything, please reach out. Ducky's going to send all of his things because he's the winner. And hopefully this was good. We're sorry we had some technical difficulties, but I hope you got something out of every single presentation. If you need anything, let us know. And otherwise, we're here to serve you. Go kill it.
Thank you. Great job, everybody. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
everyone.
one.
Bye.
What did he win?
He wins nothing. Bye.
The right to brag.